Well, good evening, friends, and welcome to the Millennial Winner Circle discussion that we're going to be having this evening as a part of our Rise Up Leadership Conference 2021. And we've been having such an excited time, just as God has just been releasing His Word, just imparting to our hearts just instruction and knowledge and alignment, and just doing so much with us over the last 2 days. And I encourage you, if you haven't touched any of the sessions as yet, you want to ensure that you dive in. In fact, if you haven't touched the session, what have you been doing? It's been so phenomenal. And we started Thursday evening, session 1 with Corey Russell, and it was just God just setting the foundation, a right foundation for us to build on. I call it God right in our compass, because He really just, again, set our hearts in that place of having right perspective in how to build as leaders. And then last night we had Dr. Genevieve Harris, who was amazing, who really come and put things in perspective for us in respect of building on that foundation in a right way, and understanding that in God just rising us up and again just bringing forth His purposes through this generation, that there are a lot of things that we need to understand, that we need to, again, have hindsight about, so that we are not surprised when it happens. So I encourage you, plug into session number 2. All of them are on our archives on YouTube, also on Facebook. But tonight we are having an incredible session with some incredible people that I have the opportunity to know and to introduce to you tonight. Leaders that really have been a blessing, some that I've known for a while, some that I've just met recently, but we've felt like we've known each other forever. And I want to give them the opportunity to say hello. But just before I do that, let me just tell you a bit about them. We have Raphael Saul, who hails from Barbados in the Caribbean, but he's not just a man locked into an island. God has used him all across the Caribbean region and the world to encourage, to motivate, to lift others up. And he's spoken in context with the secular arena in respect to the marketplace, and in the company of men like Steve Harvey, who we all know, and he has shared the stage with many popular motivational speakers. But he's such a blessing, and he has such a rich heart for the things of God. When I first met Raph, he was really leading worship at his church, but I got the opportunity. We went on a mission trip together in Haiti. We knew each other a bit better, but I saw how God just matured him and just grew his purpose out through his life, through the years. And he's also an attorney at law, but God has just set him in this context of lifting people into their place of destiny and purpose, and connecting them, or rather helping connect the dots for them to walk in alignment again with their passion, and to do so with excellence. So we are excited to have Raphael Saul with us tonight. We also have with us Jacqueline Dix, who is again, as I said, there's some folk that I have met just recently, but felt like you've known them forever. Those type of folk. She is one of those folk. Her and her husband, Chancellor, again, they're the founders and lead pastors of Collab Church here in Miami. And God has just done an incredible work with them as they've been building out here. And we've had the privilege, just at Await the Flame, to share space with them and to rub shoulders and to just be welcomed by them and strengthened by their leadership. And Jacqueline, again, she's no stranger as well to the corporate world. God has used her in an incredible way, just in respect to her ability, again, to bring people into a place of function and activity. She's worked with the city of Miami in a way in respective to, helping them advance their own agenda. And God has just been using her as well, not just in the church, but also in the marketplace. And then we have Clinton Powell, and again, another recent friend that I met, but again, a man of God who serves as the associate pastor to Evangel Church International, ECI. And this is the church that allows us the space to meet and have our services, and we're so thankful for them. And Pastor David and Pastor Janice, the lead pastors there. But Clinton, he's an associate pastor there, but he has been in ministry for years, but he's also a best-selling author who's in your backyard, an incredible book. You got to get it. In fact, I have it here, but I'll show it to you a bit later. But God has used him to empower and encourage a generation and really cause people to find their sense of identity, and as well come into a place of working and collaborating with others in such a way that, again, it's effective and efficient. And so we thank God for him and what he brings to the table of ministry as well. And so I want to give them the opportunity to say hello. Now, their bios and all of the stuff that they have done, I've pretty much only touched on a smidgen of that, yeah? But, they've just done so much, but I want to give them the opportunity to say hello to you and to introduce themselves. And I think, as gentlemen, we have to give opportunity for the lady among us, the queen among us, to bring, again, greetings first. So, Pastor Jacqueline, we welcome you again to Rise Up Leadership Conference.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And first of all, I just have to give honor where honor is due. Pastor Dwayne and Pastor Tao, you guys are so incredible. It's true, we have not known each other for very long, but I feel like we've known each other forever. And you guys just exude generosity and the love of Jesus. And it's just really an honor to be here tonight, and just was so excited when you invited me to be a part. But it's true what Pastor Dwayne says, that my husband and I, we are launching a church here in Miami. We're the founders of Collab Church, and raising up a new faith community in this city alongside some other incredible people that are you, Pastor Dwayne and Pastor Tao, and then other people on this call as well. And so I'm so passionate about what we're going to talk about tonight, and I just love that there was just an opportunity for me to get to be a part of that, because I love talking to millennials about what it looks like to actually live out their dreams. So I'm super excited for tonight.
Awesome. And I just want to add something else to the pot, because I was just going over just a bit of what you have done. And it says here that for over 5 years, you've worked in logistics and as events manager, and you've been able to assimilate over 10,000 volunteers and almost 80,000 people, amen, in getting them together. And again, just walking out, in respect to impacting the city. And that's just blowing my mind, just the amount and volume of people and that level of impact. That's just blowing my mind. All right. It's kind of
it
fresh.
still blows mine too.
Yeah.
It still
We
blows
are
mine too.
so blessed to have you. And my wife and I, we have 3 boys, and they also have a young champion, Zion, such a adorable little son, man. And so we just thank God for them and for the community of Collab. So good to have you guys with us tonight. And we also have, as I mentioned, 2 other gentlemen, and we have from right here in Miami as well, South Florida, we have with us tonight, again, Pastor Clinton Powell. Now, we're using the titles here at the beginning, but you're going to hear us using our first name basis as we go forward. But, as it's in our introduction, Pastor Clinton, can you say hello to the people out there?
Hey, good evening, family. How's everyone doing? Can you hear me okay?
Oh, yeah. We got you. We can hear you good.
So it's always an honor, it's a pleasure to be with my family. Awake the flame, as Pastor Dwayne mentioned. We have not known each other long, but we are definitely brothers. So we want to say on behalf of Evangel Church International and our lead pastors, Pastor David and Pastor Janice, it's always an awesome time to minister with you. Again, my name is Clinton K. Powell, and I also want to co-sign Miss Jacqueline. She is the real deal. She's the real deal. She helped me launch the inaugural event for One Voice Leadership Summit. So I just wanted to say thank you publicly to her. And she is an amazing individual and has an amazing heart. So it's excited to be a part of this panel. I'm eager to be among like-minded individuals, to learn as well, and to provide some type of insight. I am a father of 2. Jacqueline and Caden, they're 5 and 7, and they're ready to take over the world. Married to my beautiful wife, Sophia. And it's always a pleasure just to have them as my support system as we are doing ministry together. And thank you for the introduction. I am a John Maxwell trainer, coach, and speaker as well. And I just look forward to being able to drop some nuggets tonight. I look forward to what God is going to do in this session tonight. And I'm excited to be a part.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. Well, I told you, Clinton is an author as well. This is his book here. You want to go and get it. It's an awesome book. Who's in your backyard? You want to go pick this up. It will be a blessing to you. And it talks about, how to identify and build multi-generational teams. And I love this. I love this conversation. It's something we talk about even in our own leadership training. So I'm excited. Well, we also have with us, as I said, my friend that I've known for the longest, again, of the three, and such an incredible individual. He's a corporate trainer. He's a voice that God is using throughout the nations. And I love, especially, as I said, I first met him within the church space, but God is just using him in that space as well, again, but just all over the world, and especially in corporations, and again, those that, bring in multi-million dollars over, again, the period of just a year. God has been using him to help them even increase in what they're doing as teams, working together as leaders, and also in their profit margin. And it's so good, man, to have, again, Raphael Saul with us tonight. Rafi, can you just say hello? And this is just affection right here, Rafi. Can you say hello to everyone and just share a bit about yourself, my brother?
Absolutely, Dwayne. I have to say a wonderful good evening to you and to Tao. I'm just so incredibly proud to have had the opportunity to share in your story, for us to be a part of each other's journeys as we've been growing in the Lord, as we've been expanding in purpose and allowing God to work through us to achieve what he wants to accomplish in the earth. So much love for you and your family, of course, and a lot of admiration for the work you're doing now with Awake the Flame Ministries. This invitation has been special for me because my mission field, I think, is a bit different to the mission field that many others in the kingdom might find themselves in. I work primarily in corporate, I want to say corporate Caribbean, because a lot of my work is with large conglomerates and even smaller medium-sized enterprises as well in Barbados and across the Caribbean, doing everything from leadership training and development, sales training, customer excellence training, change management. I'm certified in that area. But it's unique in the sense that God has just given me so many open doors in the corporate world. And as Dwayne, you correctly said, he's been able to use me as a voice to bring vision, to bring transformation in the business world. And it's always interesting how he weaves in his message. He weaves in, the essence of who he's created me to be, what he wants me to do, into all of these huge, monumental corporate engagements. I'm just honored to serve in that way. Like I said, I play a lot in the marketplace, but if there can be a marketplace evangelist or someone God uses in the marketplace to impact in a positive, a meaningful, a tangible way, yet still be a beacon of light in the context of the kingdom, then I'm just honored to be used in that way. I have my amazing wife, Shanoa. She's watching right now, my rock, my support system, my everything. We have two beautiful girls, 6 and 4, very much like Clinton's, en route to taking over the world. So it's a done deal already. And I feel very honored to be sitting with both Clinton and Jackie this evening. I feel a bit like the least of the apostles, but that's fine. I'm happy to give way to the expertise to learn from the guys who are on, the guys and gal on this call this evening, and to share whatever God might want to share through me to really impact this generation. I am generationally inclined, and so this is quite special for me, Dwayne.
Come on. I'm excited already. I'm just ready to jump in to the meat of the matter just after that. And I'm just so inspired just hearing you guys and just, the vibrancy that you bring. One thing I love about all three of you, there is just such an effervescence in respect to how you feel about your passion, your calling, what you're connected to and what you're doing. And especially in this time, we need that again in our generation. We catered this session to millennials and post-millennials, but really, it's for everybody. I believe everybody can learn again from this session tonight. And when we first started this conference, it was really not just around the corner just a few days ago, but rather our first ever Rise Up Leadership Conference was way back, about 3 years back. And when we kicked it off, we had some incredible friends that I invited up here to be with us as well. Imran and Dario Richards, again, of Inspire Leadership Institute, and they came in the midst of our church family and did such an incredible job. And one of the things that I kept encouraging them to do, I said, listen, you guys have such incredible content. You need to put it together and get it out there so the world can be fed. And I'm excited. I just want to take a moment to celebrate them, because just a few days ago, they actually got that content together, and they have their Taking Aim, again, leadership journal. It's amazing, and it's laid out in such a practical way. It's really laid out in a practical way. And you can have your note section, your planning section. I don't know if you can see all of that on camera, but it's just amazing what they have begun to do. And I'm just so thankful for what God is doing in and through them as well. And so there's just something about folk that come alongside and just work with us on our Rise Up Leadership Conference. You know what happens? Material springs forth. So I'm looking for more books from Clinton, some from Jacqueline as well. And Raphael, I've been telling you that for a while. So I'm just excited, just letting you guys know that stuff happens, all right, when you come alongside Rise Up Leadership Conference. And, my wife actually designed the book, our company, because, we're not only pastors, we also, run a corporation, Kainos Creative Studios. And, my wife designed it, laid it out for them, and did that work as a part of the efforts of our company. But we are so thankful just to be able to serve in the dreams of others. And that's what we're here to do tonight. And, some of you would have heard our topic, what we're going to be discussing. Stop sleeping on your dreams. Stop sleeping on your dreams. And, God really put this in my heart because, the whole context around the conference this year was based on Isaiah 60. I'm just going to get a little biblical with you just for a minute. But God said in that scripture through the prophet, arise and shine. He's prophesying to the people. For your light has come and the glory of the Lord has risen upon you. And then he went on to talk about the great darkness. He offers a contrast. There's this great darkness that has surrounded the earth, but he says his people will, even in the midst of that, begin to rise up and shine and display his glory. And I believe that in the midst of all that is happening in the earth, we can easily get distracted or, come to a place where we feel crippled because of the paralysis of analysis, just looking out there and analyzing all that's happening and feeling like, the world is just closing in. But no, this is the hour where, again, God's people are rising up. Amen. And even if you may not have a relationship with Christ, again, who knows, God has destined you for this moment, and he's calling you to his son, because in his son, you're going to see, just incredible light and destiny coming forth in the earth to impact, again, and bring a sense of life and life more abundantly to the nations. And so I am so excited because you who are listening tonight, you are a part of that company. God didn't bring you here by accident. You didn't click play or jump on the live by accident. No, it was on purpose and by purpose, by design. And he's brought you here so that you can be encouraged, so that you can rise up and be a part, amen, of releasing effervescent life and being a blessing, because that's where fulfillment, true fulfillment, is found. Not in, again, filling your own pockets, but again, being a blessing and filling, again, others up, amen. Being in a place where you can really encourage and bring strength to the lives of those around you. And so as we start our conversation tonight, I just want to set a foundation very quickly, because we have some questions. We have just a time of really great discussion, and I believe it's just going to pull some practicality out of, all of our speakers to share with us, and you're going to hear some of their stories. But in setting out the journey of launching into your dream, there's 7 things you must consider. And I'm going to just share these dynamics with you. Is actually from our leadership training module, a module we created and we work with corporations with, as well as leaders in churches, called Leader Ecology. And it's called the 7 phases of pioneering. And some of you, you're in the process of having a dream and desiring to pioneer that thing that God has put on the inside of your heart, that you feel burning on the inside of you. Well, number 1, starts with a dream. It starts at that place of having eyes to see that thing before you, having that sense of imagination and saying, okay, this is what it looks like. This is what I'm seeing. And you may not capture all of the details. And I'm not necessarily talking about a dream that comes to you in the night, though sometimes you may be inspired that way as well. I mean, there are folk that had inventions, like, again, Charles Edison and so forth, that it had dreams come to them in the night about things. But, I'm just talking about the fact that, you are seeing something that you believe in your heart you are assigned to do, or you feel passionate about. I want you to encourage you to hold on to that you see. Hold on to that dream, because that's where it all starts. But it doesn't end there. Yeah, we just can't be dreaming through life. Amen. We have to come from the place of dreaming to actualizing that very thing that we are beholding. And so the next step is offering definition to that thing that you're seeing. Okay, what is it called to do? Who is it called to serve? Why do you feel passionate about it in the first place? And I want you to search that out. Ask those questions if you've not asked those questions already, because some people are at the dream phase, but some people are saying, okay, well, I want to take that step to seeing that dream come alive. Well, first, you have to, again, find and discover your why behind that thing that is burning in your heart. Again, why is it burning so? Ask yourself the question. Write it down. Put it down. You got to write the vision down. And again, write down the things that are associated with that vision that give inspiration to it. I like what Jesus says in Mark 11:24. He says, ask whatsoever you desire. And we're not going to ask if we don't have desire first in our heart. So what is it that is fueling that thing that you're seeing? Discover it, define it, write it out. Now, your language may not be perfect, but you go right ahead and start somewhere. You see, it's all about starting. Sometimes we want perfection, but God wants our intention. He wants our intentionality, our action. So start right there. Put it out. And then after having that place of definition, begin to draw, design. Again, put it out. What is this going to look like? It's amazing that even with our ministry and the things that we have done, whether corporate, whether in church, God often had us just take the time and just begin to sketch out the things that we were dreaming, what it's going to look like. We sketched out buildings. We drew parking lots. We began to design things and lay it out in such a way that we don't just see words, but we can see a design right there before us. And, when we first started to do that, it felt a little like, okay, well, we're just sketching and we're just having things on paper. What is this? But, when the time came, when the time was right, and we had to employ action to see it come into a place of fruition or come into a place of, materialization, we had to show these things to designers and folk that came around us and said, hey, that's what it looks like. Let's again bring it forth. Let's bring it forth, because you see, people have to be able to see what you are seeing, and you have to be able to lay that out in such a way that's not just linear, but it can touch them and they can feel that passion. They can understand and feel that fire that you're feeling to a certain degree, and be able to express that, so that again, they're not just catching vision alone, but they're feeling the culture, they're feeling the passion that you feel in the midst of your heart. Then some of you may be at the stage that goes beyond all of those steps. You may have already deployed that dream. You may have already been in the state of action, where again, there are action steps, there are incremental steps that you've already began to take. Things have already began to materialize, and it is at that point again that God wants to come alongside and encourage you. He wants to come alongside and fan that flame, so that in the midst of it, again, you can be encouraged and you can stay strong. Deployment is always an exciting time. It's like the beginnings, and things are beginning to happen and everybody's hands are in the air. And so again, if you are there, we want to come and encourage you by giving you vision to know what to expect, because often when you deploy, you reach the other step, which is the step of discovery. And discovery is an interesting step. It's an interesting step because you not only discover, okay, what's working, but you also discover what is not working or what does not fit. And sometimes we start with a whole set of stuff, in the plan, but then we realize, okay, this doesn't work. This does not, again, fit the mold that God is establishing, or the thing that we are setting out to do. And you have to become adaptable. That's where you discover the hurdles. That's where you discover all those different dynamics. And it's so easy to become discouraged in those moments. But again, our hearts can't be discouraged. And tonight we're going to speak to you, those of you who have met some hurdles along the way, and you feel a bit discouraged. You feel a bit, oh, I don't know. I don't know what to do. I don't know how to jump over the hurdle. I feel like I've just hit a wall and I don't know how to move forward. Guys, God wants to encourage you. He wants to come and release a wind in your sails to push you on forward with him. And so we have that, again, discovery phase, but then there's the demand phase, and I'm just going to wrap this up really quickly, where again we have to demand of ourselves better and push ourselves onward after we get strategy to overcome those hurdles. And then there is the development stage, last of all, where we make a commitment to develop not just the thing that we're building with our hands, but the thing that resides on the inside, and that is our heart. Again, what is around us is not going to grow if what's on the inside of us is not growing. I like how Dan Cathy, the owner of Chick-fil-A, puts it. He says, you have to be bigger on the inside than you are on the outside. And that is crucial to any dream or anything growing to its full potential. So these are just some phases that you would often find yourself in when you are growing out a dream. And I'm knowing that, some of you guys are hearing this and you're saying, okay, well, I'm at that phase, or, I'm right here. But we want to open up the conversation, because as we discuss some dynamics tonight, it's really going to touch you where you're at. And I believe as we dive in, these guys are going to share stuff from their heart that's going to help you overcome, no matter what level you're at. Rather you're at the design, the dream, the deploy, the discover phase. And I feel sometimes like, that's the most challenging one of all. But we are going to help you tonight. So my first question that I want to just throw out there, guys, and put it on the table is that, we have folk that have dreams, and oftentimes they're at that stage where, again, they may have dreamt the dream, they see that's in their heart, what they desire to do, but they're wondering, how do I take that first step? How do I step out of this comfort zone, this place where they may feel, a bit insecure about stepping out into something new? It may be a book they want to write. It may be a new job. It may be going back to school. We just had, a famous basketball player who, again, came out of the NBA and went back to college and is now playing golf in college, stories like these. But sometimes that can be very intimidated, to step out into new territory and to take that step of faith. Sometimes we use that language in the church, taking a step of faith. What would you say can help that individual, what can be a catalyst to help them, take that first step, to step out and to do what's in their heart, what they feel in their heart to do? And I want to throw that out there, and maybe we can have Raphael, since I ended with you, maybe we'll start with you. Yeah? And
sure.
You can pick up and you can just, again, tackle this for us, all right? What can we employ? What can we apply as a catalyst to help us step out of our comfort zone, step out of our fear zone sometimes?
Yeah, so good. Thanks so much for that, Dwayne, and thanks for walking us through the stages of pioneering a dream or a vision. That was really encouraging. I'll say this, I believe for me, and perhaps for others as well, it starts with us addressing our own perspective on this dream that we have in our hearts or in our minds. I think for a lot of us, we actually have to go through a stage of giving ourselves permission, giving ourselves the validation that the thing we're seeing, the thing we're dreaming about, the thing that we've contemplated is worth it. And it's worth it not just because I've sat and I've fantasized about it, but it's worth it because of the source of that dream or vision. So for me, it starts at what is this dream really? Is this just something that I think would be nice to have? Is this just something I believe would be a good achievement or a good trophy to place on a pedestal sometime after persons are reflecting on my life? Or do I have a deep conviction that this is something of the future that's been revealed to me by God in the present? And it's something that he wants to accomplish in the earth through me. Everything shifted for me, Dwayne. Everything shifted for me when I stopped seeing the things he was trying to do in me as just being for me. And I started to realize that what he was trying to do was rewrite a script that would impact generations, and he was just using me as the page to write it on. And when I shifted my perspective then, I stopped thinking as much about the fear or the hesitation I felt about some of the things I felt compelled by him to do. It started to move from, can I afford to do it, to, can I afford not to do it? In light of the magnitude of this thing God is calling me to do, I'm stepping out of what would be conventional for me. You're moving from the narrow path of legal counsel in a large corporation where everybody's feeling like you're on a path already, bro. Like this is gonna fast track you to what the average person believes is a pretty successful life. But God starts to bubble with this thing inside you and you know it. Like I'm sure many people watching right now know that feeling of unease. I don't like to call it discomfort as much as unease. Like you're in a place which by all measurements is probably a pretty good place. But you just feel this unease with where you are and you're wrestling between purpose and convenience. You're wrestling between the calling of God and the comfort of where you presently are. And it's as we lean more into that unease that God is able to show us a bigger picture of why this dream is relevant. And the last thing I'll say, because I don't want to talk too long, I want to get Jackie and Clinton in. The last thing I'll say is, I believe a big shift as well to help us move from that stuck position of, do I even think this is a valid or worthwhile cause to give myself to? Is remove from our minds and our hearts that stubborn and selfish sort of arrogance that the dream was about us in the first place. And we put in our minds instead the people who are connected to this dream, the mission that is connected to this mindset God is trying to drop into us. Because when we see it that way, then there are more factors pulling us than the ones that are trying to press us down where we presently are.
So good. That's just so good. My mind is just exploding on so many different points that were just shared in the midst of that. But, the gist of it really, is getting out of the picture of it just being about you and understanding that there is so much value locked up, for the earth, there's just so much treasure on the inside. And, it's not just for your satisfaction, but there are people out there that are hungry and dependent upon that are waiting for that need that to unlock their own next step in destiny.
Absolutely.
Raphael, boom, my mind is exploding. I want to ask you something just before I go over to Jacqueline. I want to invite Jacqueline to come on and share on this as well, and then Clinton as well. But I want to ask you because you talked about the fact that that reality hit you personally. Can you share just a bit and invite us more into your story? Of what would have happened for you at some point. I know we share similarities in the same way. I was shifted from engineering into another context and people could not understand that. It's like, what are you doing? What are you doing? But, for yourself, what was that like for you again? And just share a bit of your story there a minute.
Sure, Dwayne. So as you mentioned, I'm a trained attorney at law. I was called actually about a week ago. I celebrated 10 years at the bar and I was called to the bar. I had the opportunity to work in private practice. While I was doing that, I was doing criminal law, civil law, property, succession, all kinds of different types of law. And I was doing a lot of litigation at the courts. After doing that for a number of years, I got the opportunity to be legal counsel at a very large corporation here. Thing is, Dwayne, the more I did it, the more I felt like there was more for me. And it was an unusual conversation to have with people who were looking from the outside and seeing the position you were in, seeing the position you held, seeing the office you sat in, and they just figured, snap, well, you're on a good path. You've arrived. You're making it, so to speak, by external measurements. But I wrestled with that dissatisfaction. And to be honest, I wrestled with a measure of unhappiness. Here's what I started doing. While I was legal counsel at this company, during lunchtimes, really sharing my story here, during lunchtimes, I'd actually go into the small lunchroom, take my laptop with me, and I just felt this hunger and thirst to start improving myself, reading and watching more content about personal development and growing and improving my mindset. How can I enhance my skills? How can I get better? And as I did that, I started to realize that there were just unique giftings that made me a bit different to others around me. There were things that were a part of how God had fashioned me that weren't just the ordinary check these boxes to be a great attorney. And I started pouring myself more into those things. What happened then, Dwayne, was the more I did that, the more I felt like, I wonder who else might be on a journey of trying to improve themselves and discover. So God took me from, Raphael, I want to show you how I want to invest more into you, or rather show you what's been invested into you so you can manifest that for the benefit of the earth. But I also want you to lead the charge of showing others how they can also explore more about what's been invested into them. And don't confuse what they do with who they are. It was a struggle for a lot of people who saw me only as an attorney when I started to get calls to train at companies. They started to ask, well, are you legal counsel for that company? Absolutely not. But I moved myself from being quote unquote just an attorney. I started to study various areas of business. I started to explore different things that were of strategic benefit to corporations. All of a sudden, God was causing me to sort of mushroom what had been a small seed before into something much larger. And so in these initial stages, what God started to do was show me what you do is great, but I don't want you to confuse, or rather, I don't want you to confine who you are by what you're doing right now. That's why I'm convinced, Dwayne, that dreams can't be viewed as a destination. Otherwise, somebody's going to feel like, yeah, being an attorney, that's my dream. When really for God, qualifying me as an attorney was just a part of the journey of the dream.
Come on.
It wasn't, it's not the dream in itself.
That's
so
good.
Yeah, I want to put that out there for persons to think about as well.
That's good. That's good. Just a part of the journey, because there's some people too, because we just think of sometimes folk that are starting off fresh and just launching off on something for the first time, but there are those who may, in others' eyes, seem accomplished, and that whole view of how others see them can be the very hindrance that stops them from stepping out to do that thing that is bubbling in their hearts. So good. Thank you, Raphael, just for bringing that perspective and just for being vulnerable with us tonight. We so appreciate that, and I know our viewers do as well. Well, we want to have Jacqueline share just again, some encouragement with us to help us, along the same lines. I know Raphael just said and shared just a lot of different dynamics, but we're here because we have different experiences, all from different backgrounds and, touching different contexts. And Jacqueline, I just want you to just lend your value to those out there who need to hear, how can I get started? What catalyst can you lend to them tonight to help them get off the ground?
I love it. I love it. Well, honestly, gosh, Pastor Dwayne, you started Raphael. I feel like we could just stop right now. Everything has been so good. I've been taking so many mental notes. You guys are incredible. But honestly, the first thing I think about when you say, how to get started, get started. The first thing you can do to start is to start. And whatever that means for you, whether it's just the smallest step of changing your mindset of, I'm actually going to do this, or how am I going to take steps towards that? I think a lot of people, when they decide to start something, they think that it has to happen right now. And this is a millennial roundtable. So let's just talk about millennials right now. We live in a microwavable society. Everything we want right now. And the reality is that anything that is worth building or worth doing is going to take time. It's not going to happen overnight. And so the best way to get started is to get started right now, because it's going to take time and consistency and discipline on top of those things. So you can never start too early. You can never be too unqualified to start whatever dream has been placed in front of you, whatever passions that you have. You can never be too far behind or too far to the left or too far to the right or even too far ahead to start whatever that is that you are passionate about. And, you know, I talk to a lot of millennials and, you know, which would be people my age or even just some of the people that are even just a little younger than me or even a little older. And, you know, one of the things that they oftentimes ask themselves is this going to work? It's the question we all have when we start pioneering. Is this going to work? Do you think this is going to work? And I'm laughing because I've asked myself that many times in my life, different endeavors that I've taken, whether it's been a business or a new organization or moving halfway across the country to start a new faith community, whatever that may be, you ask yourself those questions. But the answer really to that question that I figured out over time is that anything worth pursuing serves people. So if what you're going to do next serves people, take a step. Take one step, whatever that would be. I tell people often that God cannot move a parked car. So whenever you need to move forward, nobody can move you forward but you. So take responsibility for that passion, take responsibility for that dream, and realize that if not, your disobedience is going to be a direct impact to something that will take away from someone else. So your disobedience is actually going to not fulfill the need of someone else. And that drives me because I love to serve people. I love people. That's why I do what I do. It's why I've always done what I do. If you are serving people, you'll never go wrong. And so it just honestly is just the moment where you have to go, okay, I'm going to get a hold of myself and I'm going to stop the chatter that's in my mind, because you need clarity when you're going to step out. Stop the chatter in my mind of all the ifs, the whats, the is this going to work? What if this isn't going to happen? And you have to take a step back and go, I'm asking myself all these questions of things that have never even happened before. They've never even happened yet. And you'll never know if they will until you step out. There was just a point that I got to in my life where I looked at my life and, like both of you actually have already said, that you were in an incredible position and everything looked good. And it was awesome. And it actually was awesome. It was amazing. It was incredible. But there was just that burning inside of you that there was something just a little bit more. And it was when I took that second to go, okay, I'm going to actually lean into that for a moment and figure out what that is. And then all those questions started coming, that chatter, the lies in your head of, what if it doesn't work out? What will so-and-so think? How can I ever transition jobs? You know, what am I going to tell my team? You know, how am I going to sell my house? Whatever that is going to be. And I got to a position in my life where I was reading all these incredible stories, whether it's in the Bible of men and women that have gone before us, that have done incredible things for the Lord, that have served people, that have changed generations, that have allowed themselves to be an agent of change for this world that's in need. And I just got to a place where I said, I want that to be me. And I know that that cannot be me. I will never have a story like that if I stay exactly where I am. So you have to move. You have to take a step forward. And the incredible thing is that if you believe in Jesus, he's right behind you. And there's nothing that you can't do when his wind is just behind you. So it's just exciting from beginning to end.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. That was so good. And I just love the simplicity, but the potency in that of just getting started this is always a point for me because, my wife would tell you I can lean into that perfectionism side of things. And it's always like, all the I's have to be dotted right, all the T's have to be crossed a certain way. Yeah. And, until then, it's sometimes like, oh, I just want to get it right the first time. And so, I've had to work through that fear as well and break that, and really break, what can be pride as well too, and just get out there and get going, with the dream of God. Because
Yes.
as you said, you can't move a parked car. You can't move a parked car. And it's so good. Just the practicality of what you shared. And I'm thinking of your journey as well, because as you began to share even about the move, you guys moved from, was Oklahoma all the way
Missouri.
here to Florida, all the way here
Yes.
to Florida. My wife and I, we were in the same position. We moved from Barbados here to South Florida as well. And we were comfortable. Everything was good. We just finished paying off stuff. And, it's that point of your life where it's like, we've been waiting for this moment now. Things are paid off. Everything is good. The boys are in private school. Things are going a certain way. And then God comes and just, as we would say in the Caribbean, I don't know if it's a universal term as well, we say skin up the apple cart, or, he turns things over.
Oh,
Yeah. And so you've been through that. You and Chancellor,
yes.
your husband, you guys walk through that. And how was that? How was the fear in that moment, of having to leave what to come to some place where it may be unfamiliar, to you? How was that for you?
It's a great question, and it actually just makes me laugh. It's kind of funny because we used to tell people, we actually still say this, but when we decided to move, we were moving somewhere where we knew no one. We
Wow.
didn't have jobs, and there was literally nothing physical that we could hold on to that was going to be any part of the dream that we believe that God had given us. So
Wow.
literally everything about that sounds crazy.
Wow.
And so in that moment, there there is there could be fear, but also in that moment, there was just such a supernatural peace. And one of the hardest things I think in that season and how we decided to just move forward anyway was when we got rid of plan B. This was plan A. We did not have a plan B. We only had plan A. And a lot of people, and even in times in my life, myself with the businesses that I've always had a plan B. I'm a planner. I like to know what's going to happen. I always want to have a fail safe. I do events. You always have to have a plan B. So I'm like, I have a plan B. Everything's going to be fine. But the reality is that if you're always leaning on that plan B, trying to do plan A, you'll never be able to give 100% to plan A. So I had to come to a moment where I said, okay, I only have plan A. This is the only thing I'm going to do. This is actually what I believe that I am supposed to do with my life. I'm going to go 100% in because I don't want to get to the end of the season wondering what could have happened. And so there are moments of fear. There were moments of discouragement. There were moments of, did we make the right decision? We had honestly no idea at times, but we just kept taking steps forward. When you're afraid, keep moving. Don't stop. Fear can either paralyze you or it can move you forward, and allow it to move you forward into what God has laid before you, into the passions that He's given you. And in those moments where you feel like you can't move, call someone that will move you, whatever that is going to be. Call your best friend. Get into the Word. If you read the Bible, that is what I do. And you have to just realign yourself and go, I'm okay.
Come on.
And keep moving forward.
So good. Keep moving forward. I love that. In the face of fear, keep moving forward. Oh, so good. Thank you so much for sharing, Jacqueline. That was so good. And I'm seeing just some of the comments just from the community out there, and they're just being so blessed. Everybody's like, yes, I need to move. All right. And so I'm encouraged by that. But we also have our brother, Clinton Powell. And I want Clinton to come and share with us. Again, he's no stranger to managing moves, managing change, and helping others walk in their change. And so, Clinton, I just want you to go ahead and just, help some of us out here. We want to go after that new job. We want to plant that new business. What do we need to energize our hearts, to take that first step? I know we've heard so much, but we know you have value to add to this. So drop it with us, brother.
So you definitely heard a lot, and I appreciate Raphael when he mentioned the concept of understanding your why. Then what Jacqueline said about God can't move a parked car and remove the plan B. All those are so amazing. I'm taking notes here as I process it myself. But I think, let me get a little bit spiritual to the point that I think we have to remember why and who we are. Why did God create us? And it's funny, as I think about it, we have to accept the fact that God created us to make a difference. God created us to make a difference. So we have the power to win. What we need to do is unleash that power to win. And I'm focused on the power to win because for the upcoming event that I'm doing, that's the theme that I'm running with, the power to win. Because of the mindset change that we have, we don't believe that we actually could do whatever that God gave us in our vision, in our dream. We have to understand that God created us with the ability. If he gave you the vision, he's going to provide the provision. If he gave you that dream, that means he has the abilities for you to live it out. So you have to, everything that has been said already is very true. You got to keep going. I get stuck. That's actually a Maxwell principle. Just keep going. That law of perfection. You will never start it off. You will never do everything right, but you just got to keep going. So if you understand the nature of why you were created in the image of God. I want that to sink in. You were created in the image of God. And we believe that the same Holy Spirit that raised Jesus from the dead resides in us. That means we have the power. We have the ability. So we need to tap into that, remove the fear, and put one foot in front of the other. And I understand for some of us that may be so hard because everything that has been said before, but I want to tap into your spirit, man, to remind you that you were created to win. You have the power. You have the ability. You have the skill set. You have the right mindset. What we need to do is unleash it. We cannot be afraid of failure as well. Jacqueline mentioned this for millennials. We're in the microwave society. Everything's on social media. Everybody posts all the wins, but nobody posts the negative. Nobody posts the losses. For you, if you put it in perspective, for you to accomplish one thing, you may have failed 100 times. But we have to redefine the concept of failure. We need to redefine what failure is. Failure is not a permanent destination. Failure allows you to realize what didn't work so you could try what will work. See, and we get stuck in failure as though it's a prison. Well, I'm here. God has called me at this present time on this conference, on this line right now. I'm here to remind you that you are no longer in jail. So I'm here to unlock the door, not only unlock the prison cell, but I'm going to open it so that you can walk in the manifestation of the power that God has given you. I hope that makes sense for someone. I need you to understand you have the power. You were created for this. You were created to start that business. You were created to write that book. You were created to launch the podcast. You were created for whatever God has given you. Do not allow the enemy to take that away from you.
Come on. I love it. And I just want us, even as Clinton mentioned just now, that you were created to win. Come on, somebody needs to shout that out. I was created to win. Somebody needs to drop that right there in the chat. Write it out. Put it in bold type. I was created to win. And sometimes you have to call your own name because there is so much conversations. And Clinton, you talked about it just now. Sometimes there's so much conversations that are going on in our minds about, how things won't happen, won't work out, all of those fears.
Yeah.
But you have to open your mouth so that your mind can shut up and listen to what you are speaking and saying. And so I want to encourage you, as Clinton said, rise up. Open your mouth tonight. Again, begin to speak differently. over your life and over your destiny. And I love that perspective. Go ahead.
It's amazing because I'm gonna steal this quote from Colin Henderson. He's one of the speakers that I have coming, as well as you, Dwayne. I know everything that you shared tonight. We're gonna blow it up in January. But Colin Henderson, he says this is his quote. It's profound in its simplicity. Stop listening to yourself and start talking to yourself.
Come on, it's good.
Stop listening to yourself and start talking to yourself. Okay, Clinton, what are you trying to say by that? I'm trying to say we have an unhealthy exchange. Communication is supposed to be three-way, but it's one way. Our mind is telling us what we are not. Our mind is reminding us of our failures. Our mind is telling us that because of your family history, you can't do this. Because you come from a broken home, you can't do this. Because your bank account doesn't show the zeros, you can't do this. No, we need to stop listening to ourselves and start talking to yourself. And just tell yourself, I am created to win. I am not my history. My history will help enhance my journey for success. I am not what my parents said. I am not what society says. But I am the child of God who is called and created to win. So we need to change the dynamics, and we need to change the concept of our conversation with our spirit man, and we need to take control. We cannot allow ourselves to take control, our mindset. If it's not aligning with the word of God, if it's not aligning with the things that God has said to his children, we need to talk to it and take ownership again.
Oh, so good. So good. Guys, this has just been just phenomenal so far. I mean, there is so much that has been said. I feel like I'm just sitting down and I'm listening, but I feel like I've read about 5 books already just with the content that has come out and just has blessed us tonight. My goodness, what an encouraging session. And we're only just, again, moving on just from beyond the beginnings. Yeah. And our time is just going, but, there's just so much here on the table to talk about. And I want to bring up this next conversation because, we're talking here about people who are commencing a journey or stepping out, but there are others as well who have started. They're in the midst of, that, deployment phase, and they began to put things, into perspective, and rubber is meeting road and things are moving, things are happening. But they've hit that discovery phase where they've discovered some challenges along the way. And for some of them, they feel like they just got that, that sucker punch, a surprise punch. They didn't expect it. The plan is not going to plan. It's not working out according to their expectation. And for some of our listeners out there, they feel like if that thing that was a gift, like they felt it was a gift, it was like such a blessing when they commenced it, it now feels like such a heavy burden. What can be said to encourage? And Raphael, I'm going to just put this on your table to help us, with what can be said to someone out there who feels stuck, who feels like they're plateaued, who feels like they can't break the barrier to move to their next, who feels almost like giving up because they just feel like the gift has become a burden.
Wow, that's powerful. I want to start right where Clinton left off, actually. 2 things I'll say. First of all, it can be very dangerous to people's progress when they continue to retreat to their past failed experiences. Clinton made a really, really amazing point just now, and I'll start with it. People have to give themselves grace. God might have called you to this, but it doesn't mean just like someone in a gym lifting weights, you don't have to work your way through it. I don't know anyone who's going to start and be absolutely perfect at it at the outset. Because God has called you to do it, it doesn't mean you arrive at the start line with complete mastery of everything that's going to be required for you to succeed. Give yourself grace. Here's the second thing. I've never met a person called failure. Failure is an event. Failure is an occurrence. Failure is an experience. Failure is not an identity. And it becomes very dangerous for us, Dwayne, when people who have failed start to see themselves as a failure. A lot of people that I've met that are stuck They've started, they've given themselves to it. It didn't kick off as they wanted it to. They didn't get the response. God told me to start this business. Been 6 months now, Jesus. Ain't seen no customers yet. They start to feel as though because they have failed, they are a failure. I want to challenge someone watching tonight. Separate your experiences from your identity. In fact, God might be causing you to navigate those experiences so you can build the kind of character, you can build the kind of spiritual muscle that qualifies you to lift the weights you're going to have to lift down the road. You are not a failure because you may have failed. So first of all, give yourself grace. Second of all, separate your experiences from your identity. Like Clinton said, you are still the person God has created to accomplish this. And there's a third thing I want to sort of encourage. I want you to examine what's around you. It's amazing. You drop a beautiful flower in the middle of the desert. It still has the potential within that seed to become something amazing and beautiful. But it's in the desert, y'all. It's gonna struggle because you've got to examine the environment in which you've placed that seed. It's the very same thing, I believe, with us. As we're feeling stuck sometimes, we've got to ask ourselves that question. If I'm feeling stuck, am I in an environment where this dream can flourish? Who do I have around me? Are the persons around me sowing seeds of blessing, of positivity, of encouragement, of support, of good advice, of rebuke that are necessary for me in order to grow in this dream? Or am I surrounded by people who are just Debbie Downers? They're just negative all the time. Or they feel insecure because they're wishing that God placed in them the thing that God placed in you. So examining your environment, I believe, is also an important tool we can use as we're trying to get ourselves unstuck. You're trying to be that beautiful flower in the middle of a desert environment. You're trying to grow without giving yourself grace. And you're considering yourself a failure because you have failed. You've got to make that separation.
Oh, so good, so good. And you know, there are two things that just stand right out just loudly to me. And you know, the last one that you finished on, speaking of environment, so critical. But when you said about separating your experiences from your identity, so critically important, because sometimes, you know, those lines get convoluted, those lines get mixed, and then we can believe that
Absolutely.
our experience dictates, you know, who we are, or it dictates our future, rather than, again, going back to that place of passion, that why, and again, regurgitating what we know to be true and standing on that and pushing forward again who we are. Oh man, that's awesome. Jacqueline, can you just jump in here and help folk out there get unstuck? Those that feel like, oh, I'm not going anywhere. My plan did not work out to plan. It's not happening according to my expectation. What do I do? How do I get back on track? How do I get back into a place where, you know, I can get focused on the thing that I know in my heart I'm called to do?
Yes, absolutely. Well, first of all, I just have to say that if that is you on this call tonight, you are not alone.
Come
I think
on.
every single person on this call tonight, and whether it's this panel or the people
Hmm.
that are in this call, have been in a place like that.
Yeah.
You are not alone. You are not the only one. So tonight, be surrounded by that peace that
Hmm.
you can take steps forward. And I love, love, love what Raphael said. Everything that he said is absolutely true. And I think just taking it a step further is the practicality of the steps that you can take now. So now you have the perspective that, okay, I'm going to get a hold of myself. I realize that I'm pioneering something new. So everything is going to look new. Okay. I have my mindset going in the right direction. So now the next step is that we have to get practical. So something didn't work. What was that thing that didn't work? why didn't it work? How could we actually make that better? And so we actually take a second and we go ahead and go back to the past just for a moment, because we can learn from our past. We don't dwell there, we don't stay there, but we learn from it, because what we can if we don't do that, we'll just continue to make that failure over and over again, and you're just hitting your head against the wall going, why is this not changing? Why is this not happening? Well, have you assessed what is actually happening? So assessment is huge in this moment, to get a hold of yourself, to just allow yourself to feel that failure, give yourself that moment, but then move forward and have the confidence to go, okay, I'm going to remove this failure from me. Like Raphael was saying, that we take the failure off of ourselves and we go, okay, I'm going to actually move forward, because I'm not the failure, but there was a failure in this moment. And so we need to know what that was and how we can practically dissect that so that you can change it next time. The reality is that when you're pioneering something, you are never going to get it right the first time. Raphael already said this. You are never going to get it right the first time. So go ahead. Fail. Don't be afraid to fail. Be excited that you failed, because you actually did something. So that means that the next time you're not going to do it again. So you know that at least you get to take one more step beyond that and get super practical with your team, with yourself, to say, okay, let's actually go through this and be master problem solvers. And that is going to save you just a world of hurt in the future as we move forward. And just being confident about talking about those problems. There is nothing wrong with a problem. There's always a yes in the future.
That's so good. That's so good. And that whole concept of assessment, I think it really gets us down, to the ground, and really connects us with that practicality to say, hey, let's just get in this moment. Let's not just let it pass by, because, a lot of us, we don't want to look at that. We don't want to stay in the mirror with our stuff all over the place for too long. We want to get things together, There's a booger in my nose. I want to get it out, I don't want to be seen. But the thing is, I just love how you said just to stay in the moment, and again, evaluate and go through that process with those around you to assess it and to learn from it. And I love John Maxwell's language to it, as he always points to failure, more or less, it's not an event, that was said earlier, but rather as an event, but as a learning experience, something that you dig into, you learn from, and you use it to fuel, and not to depress. That was just so good. And I want to take a moment for our audience to process that. The processing of assessment, and again, you're assessing what happened on the outside, and not bringing that guilt and that shame and that, again, disgust that you may feel because you're so connected to it on that level, on the inside of yourself. You have to separate that and walk that through, and know, again, it's just that process of learning and walking things out. Even the greatest biblical heroes had issues that they had to walk out. Really big issues that they had to walk out, and assessments had to be done, and they had to move forward again with greater wisdom, and some did not. But the reality is, we're here to learn again from the experiences of those that have gone before us and from our own. So take the time. I just love that. That's just so good. It's so practical, and it really, again, helps us to know, don't ignore the moment, walk through it. Awesome. Awesome. Clinton, my brother, can you help folk out there get unstuck tonight?
Well, first of all, Dwayne, I'm going to tell you, you need to stop putting me last, okay? It's real challenging to kind of follow up with Jacqueline. So the next go around, put me in the middle at least. Yeah. My goodness, this is amazing. This is amazing. But everything that was said, 150% correct. But what just dropped in my spirit is this. Don't let the failure replace the word that God gave you.
Come on.
I'm going to let that settle for a little bit. Don't let the failure replace the word that God gave you. And I believe someone is logged in tonight and they're saying, I understand what's happening. I know what you're saying sounds good. But what am I supposed to do? Because I know that God told me to do something, but it's not working out. How am I supposed to move forward? And I'm going to answer that by sharing a story. Similar to Jacqueline, I produce events. And I had a signature event a few years ago called the Stand Up Tour. I heard very clearly, I need you to take this tour on the road. Historically, I did it in Miami, and I was supposed to go to Tampa. So I went to Tampa. I was supposed to partner with the church. A close friend was associated with that church. Long story short, that event was the biggest loss I have taken to date. The biggest loss. I went out in faith. I knew God told me to go. I organized people. It was a 2.5-day event. We brought different national artists and speakers. And as the first night, things started to go wrong. And I just questioned God. And I said, God, I know I heard you. Why am I here? I know I heard you. Why am I here? God, I know I heard you. Why am I here? And for some of you who are logged in right now, you are in the same position right now. You are being obedient. You took the first step. You took the step of faith. And now things are not happening the way you want them to happen, but you know you heard God. I want to remind you that God wastes nothing. Everything is building for the journey of the man and the woman that he is calling you to be. And I took that very hard. I took that failure. I'm going to be transparent. I didn't do an event for about 1.5 years after that event. It was a tug of war between God and I. I was upset. I don't understand. So I don't want to paint the crystal pretty picture that we always do, and we don't allow our emotions to take control. Sometimes we do, but I'm letting you know there's hope. There's hope. If you feel as though you took a step back because of frustration or you couldn't overcome the failure at that time, just know that all things work together for us. All things work together. And everything that I've learned on that failure, I have put into place. And I have learned from that. And I knew next time if I do an event outside of my local city, I know the different checks and balances that I need to do in order to put it together. I know what to do differently the next go round. So I'm here to let you know, you have to do not allow the failure to replace the word of God. If he said that he's going to do it, that means he's going to do it. But the journey, it's about the journey and not the destination. And I think that's where we get too tied to destinations. We get too tied to goals per se. We need to understand that life is a journey, and every opportunity is you're changing the new chapter. You're adding to that chapter. You're adding to that book rather, and you have to learn from it. And I've had that experience. It shocked me. I lost financially. I was frustrated, but look at me now. 5 years later, I'm still producing events. I'm still learning from the events that I produce because I know the word that God has given me, and you cannot be afraid to put in the work. To Jacqueline's point, it takes time. Look at anyone that you respect right now. Look at your speaker, your entrepreneur, anyone that you respect. You have to understand their journey and stop looking at their destination, because you're not going to show up there at that destination and wave to them and say, hey, I'm here with you. It was a journey. Every preacher that you love, every entrepreneur, that it was a journey, right? Nobody knew about the Amazon CEO 5 years ago. Nobody knew about all these superstars and all the people that we know. Don't get fascinated with their destination. You have to enjoy the journey. It will have highs, it will have lows, but I guarantee you, if you're locked into the journey, what God is going to do from the results of your faithfulness is going to blow your mind. It's going to blow those around you.
Yes.
Come
Yes.
on, that's
100%.
I love it. I've just been thinking as you were talking about, just something we also instruct, leaders in, and that is the dynamic of not, and you were speaking about it just now, Clinton, not seeing leadership, our development, our own personal development from a linear perspective, but more or less, we teach it from a spherical perspective, that every day there are dynamics around us that are working towards our benefit and towards our growth.
Yeah.
And one of the things that stood out to me as you said that as well was that we must inspect what we expect. We must inspect what we expect. And so if my expectation is just hinged on this linear destination of meeting this point and accomplishing this particular thing, and it's not on the big penultimate purpose that
Right.
God has in his heart, which is really Romans 8, right? To conform us to the image of Christ, even if he has to
Yeah.
use a circumstance that does not end up like a mountain, but it ends up like a valley to help us to be conformed to his image. So both the good and the bad, behold the goodness and the severity. Corey talked about it on Thursday night, the presence and the pressure, both of those dynamics working
Ooh.
towards our good. And
Yeah,
I think
yeah,
that gives
love
us
it.
yeah,
hope.
yeah,
Yeah. It gives us hope. It crushes our
yeah.
flesh, but it gives us hope. And I'm there with you. I had those moments where I retreated for a while too, because I was like, God, what are you doing? You go through disillusionment
This
sometimes. The best
is
of us
it's
do.
hard.
Yeah, yeah.
It
And
is
you,
it's definitely a challenge. And put it like this: I love quotes and I love stealing people quotes.
mhm,
So, TD Jake says this: a gift given outside of the right time becomes a curse.
it's good.
So, what am I trying to say with that? We want to be that big time CEO, but if you don't have the journey of the experience to hold the weight of a CEO,
Come on.
you will quickly go bankrupt.
There you go.
Yes.
So
There you
we
go.
have to embrace it. We have to go through those struggles. It's not comfortable, but I guarantee you, if you put your head down and you continue to plow, I guarantee you, you will be able to hold the weight of the giftings and the gift that God has for you.
Awesome. And Jacqueline, you mentioned the fact that, yeah, we're talking to millennials and post-millennials, those who are growing up in a generation where we're seeing things done quickly, instantly, or at least it looks that way, or it's being presented that way.
Right.
But there is a journey, there's a process in order to
Yes.
reach that destination, that place of transformation. And so embrace your process, guys. Embrace your mountains, embrace your valleys, embrace the flux that comes with destiny. It's all working together for your good, as the Bible says, for those who love the Lord. Now, I want to move on to our next question because our time is literally going, and we want to give an opportunity to at least have at least one or two, three questions from the audience. And so, if you're out there, you're hearing us, you can just drop your questions in the chat. We have moderators who will catch some of them. We will not get all of them, but at least we can get at least one, two, maybe three. We'll see how our time goes. But I want to talk about this other dynamic because, many of us too, there are small business owners that are logged on SBOs, and they're connected to what's happening here tonight, and they've started a journey, and even some that are started a journey in ministry maybe, and they are more or less working with teams of one, two, even maybe just three people. Sometimes it's just them, and I want us to help them with a strategy in how to build out your tribe, find your people that connect. How can they go from a place of being that individual and grow into a team, or rather find those that can connect with them? How can we help them do that? And so, Jacqueline, Clinton, I'm going to give both of you the opportunity to go first. Raphael, sorry, you're going to go last on this one.
Awesome.
But
I'll
Would you
go in
like?
the
brilliant.
middle. Go
Would you
ahead,
go?
Jacqueline. Go
You
ahead,
can
Jacqueline.
go,
Go ahead.
Clinton, since you've been going. Okay.
No, no,
All
no.
right.
I'm fine.
Uh,
I like being an Oreo right now. Go ahead and be in the middle.
okay, perfect. I'm gonna bring the cream. So, honestly, the first thing that really comes to mind with building your tribe is, are you the person that you would like to attract? Because again, we're talking to millennials here, okay? So I'm one too, heart to heart, okay, right here with you. Oftentimes in this season of this generation, social media, everything we see is the highlight reel of everybody. And that's really fun. And there's great things about that. There's not so great things about that. But with all of those things comes a little bit of a facade about ourselves and the ability to actually represent ourselves in a way that maybe we can represent ourselves that way, but it's not reciprocated on the inside of us. There's no depth. There's only what is happening on the surface. And that can feel really hurtful at first, but as leaders, if we are not constantly assessing where we are as a leader, we will not be able to lead anyone else. So oftentimes when I see even maybe my own tribe, or when I'm talking to other people about their tribe, are you the kind of person that you would like to attract? The kind of people that you need around you? Do you have depth? Do you have discipline? Are you disciplined in the things that you're requesting other people to be disciplined in? Because it's reciprocated from you first. Oftentimes you get people on your team that are maybe not quite as disciplined as you are, but that's part of being a leader. You're bringing people alongside you, but you're going to have nothing to pour out into them if you have nothing poured into you. And so in that moment, really, assess yourself first. Start with you. Leadership definitely starts with you. Where are you at? How are you able to pour out from yourself? And then just very practically, because I am a realist, so I'm always going to get practical with you. Very practically, you know, I have talked to a lot of people, and I've even been in this place myself where maybe, you know, especially during the pandemic, we were stuck at home. We're going, how in the world are we going to build a team? We can't even go see anyone. What is this? And thankfully, we've taken some more steps out of that in our world, but we're still coming off of that. And the reality is that if you want to build a tribe of people around you, you have to get out there. So that means that you actually have to get out of your normal routine and go meet people. So we have this mentality sometimes that I've started a business, I'm the CEO, I've put it under my name in my email, so now I am the CEO. And yes, you are. But you're not going to be the CEO of anything if you don't actually take a step out and get yourself out there to find those people. So what does that mean practically? Maybe that means you frequent the same place that you go to eat all the time because you know that your target market is there. You actually go find them. You go meet them. You bring people alongside you and know who you're looking for. And so when you're building your tribe, you're not just grabbing at anybody that you can find, but you're assessing yourself and you're saying, who am I actually looking for? In our current organization, we have the person that we call Matthew. Matthew is a little over 30 years old. He comes from a divorced family. He is not married, but he'd like to be married. He, has a really good job, but he's maybe thinking about transitioning. He needs more leadership in his life. Matthew is a made up person, but I know that that is exactly who I am looking for, and it keeps me from looking to the left or to the right. That doesn't mean that I'm not here to serve everyone. That's just the person that I can serve the absolute best. So I'm okay with actually saying, you know what, this is the person that I can serve the best, because Raphael can serve someone else way better than I can. Clinton can serve someone else way better than I can. Pastor Dwayne. So I know who my target market is. And so I know exactly who I'm looking for. So I've already narrowed it down, and I'm getting myself out there to actually get out of my routine and just keep my eyes open. Sometimes the easiest, most low-hanging fruit is literally what is in front of you. It's called low-hanging fruit. Like, you could just pick the apple off of the tree. You're like, I've been looking for someone to actually join my team. Maybe it's actually the cashier at your supermarket. Have you talked to them? Have you told them hello? Are you kind to them when you see them? Every person is an opportunity for you to be a part of their lives and for them to be a part of yours. And your opportunity to serve them is in a moment in your life to actually give them an opportunity to serve others. And so seize those moments. Every moment is an opportunity for you to actually take hold of. So keep your eyes open and don't fall asleep in those moments.
Wow. So good. Guys, you just received a master class on team building. That was a master class. Are you the type of leader that people want to hang around? Are you assessing yourself, man, and just connecting again with that which you know is in your heart to serve? And that's so good, because sometimes we can stretch ourselves so broad and miss the
Yes.
mark because of that.
Yes.
And So good. I just wish we had more time. I just have just so much to say into that, but I'm going to allow Clinton again. Lest I'm told that I'm speaking his points. I'm going to allow him to jump right on. Clinton, come on, bro.
Oh my goodness! Listen, so I was mistaken again by going directly after Jacqueline. So I got to get my orders correct. So note to self: never follow her. But let's just note to self: never, ever, ever, ever follow Jacqueline. But I would piggyback. I will piggyback. Right, the self-assessment is perfect, but can we take that self-assessment, create it into an active list? So you're going to do the self-assessment, take the list, you're going to write down, say, and this is some practical things that I want you to do. If it's 5 or 10 things, don't go more than 10 because that's a lot to deal with. Now take that list, to Jacqueline's point, and now you have a target market that you're targeting. So now you use that list to build a community that you want around you. You use that list to build it. So you have, when you're meeting people, you're checking things off. So you understand what is needed. And for me, the community is not only the people who may say is family and friends. I think holistically, a community consists of this. Do you have a coach? Here we go, Clint. What are you talking about, a coach? We all need coaches. We all need mentors. And there's a difference between a coach and a mentor. And if you want to go to another level, you need these individuals in your life. If you talk to the most successful individuals that you know and that you see, they all have a coach and a mentor. A mentor is someone who's going to show you what to do based off of what they're doing or what they have done. A coach is someone who's going to unlock your own potential by asking you the right questions and allowing you to go on your own journey through self-actualization. And that's what you need. You need the coach, you need the mentor, and that will help the undergrowth of your actual community. And you need different things for different people. So I have several mentors and I have several coaches. So for my business, I have a coach for my business. For my personal growth, I'm using different individuals through the John Maxwell community, and that's a one aspect of the community that I have. And also, here's the thing about it too. When building a community, you have to get ready to leave your pond. I'm gonna let it settle. You understand what I'm saying? You have to get ready to leave your pond, because if you are the big fish in the pond, then you will never grow. And people love to feel comfortable because you are the senior person. You are the most experienced person. You are the go-getter. But you do not want to be a part of a community where you're the big fish. The community that you're looking for, that you need to be in, you need to be the small fish. The reason, because there's growth potential. There's an opportunity for you to learn and to gather new thought processes and experiences. And that's what we always have to understand. You cannot start this journey in the same pond. Throughout life, you need to be turned into that flying catfish. You need to be able to fly, jump up, and go to a next pond. Okay, I've learned, I've grown, and I need to go. And understand that everybody's not in your life for the whole entire journey. There are seasons for this. God will allow different people to come into your life for a season. It will probably strengthen you. They will probably bring some hurt and disappointment, but guess what? When the hurt and disappointment come, you can't give up. Put it in perspective. Jesus had a Judas. If it wasn't for the Judas, Jesus would never end up on the cross. So don't be discouraged when you find yourself having people in your community that has disappointed you, that has failed you. They are teaching you how to get stronger. They're building your character. They're allowing you to grow as a leader, as a person, and you have to embrace it. You have to celebrate it. And that's where you need to go. So the holistically in the approach of the community, you have to know exactly who you are. Write it down. Make sure that you're the leader or the person that you want to be and you think that other people want, use that list to be as a checklist for the people, the community that you want to create. And I believe there's different levels of community, that it must include a coach, it must include a mentor, it must include trusted people. You don't want yes ma'ams or yes sir. You want people who can tell you the truth and call you out when you need to be called out, and get ready to change ponds. You cannot stay in the same pond for your entire journey. You must be able to jump. You must be able to grow.
Come on, agitate us, sir. Come on with the truth. And that is the truth. We got to get out of again, our comfort zones, guys. And I hope you're hearing this. One of the things that God impressed upon my heart, and this is, more putting on my prophetic cap now, is that he in this season was making our ceilings floors, and those who would agree with him in that process, those who would humble themselves and agree with him in that process, are the ones who are going to grow to new ceilings, to newer heights, to newer dimensions. But we have to embrace that process as God calls us out and he makes our ceilings floors. And for some, it's like sometimes feeling like restarting again. For some, it's again putting yourself into a posture of vulnerability. We heard last night that when God rises you up, sometimes he rises up the stuff that's under the carpet as well, that you don't want nobody to see. So again, we got to embrace that. We got to embrace the process. Amen. And again, Raphael, can you just jump in here and just put some icing on this cake? This is a really big cake, by the way.
I'm telling you, and Dwayne, I don't know what Clinton means. I love coming last, because Jackie and Clinton have given so much food for us to chew on. I've just been here musing on it. And the last thing I'll just say to it is this: we can't build an effective tribe without that vulnerability that you spoke about. We have to define our dream as being one that will not be manifested in its full without people. I heard a business leader say recently, you might get to 1 million on your own, but the journey from 1 million to 100 million is through people. And the only way for us to discover how we can best connect with them is for us to know who we are, as Clinton said, and be vulnerable enough about who we are not. Building a tribe requires authenticity. And it's in that authenticity that we sometimes discover the right people that we need to align ourselves with, who can sometimes fill the gaps that we have left, where there are areas that we have weaknesses or shortcomings. Sometimes it's in our vulnerability in the context of our community that we're able to realize the people that we really need to have around us. I think we also need to build meaningful relationships. If we stay on the surface with our tribes, it's going to be very difficult for us to dig deep and explore the real benefit and value that members of our tribe can actually add to what God has placed for us to do. And I hope that people are catching, right? There's a trap, I believe, something that happens to plague, I believe, our community of faith, where we approach something like a tribe as, let me just go home and I'm going to pray, Lord, I would like you to just send, just like how you sent the animals 2 by 2 to the ark, just send the tribe 2 by 2 from all over to me. And sometimes, like Clinton said, we need to jump out of our pond to find the tribe. Sometimes, again, get out of our comfort zone to find the tribe. Go network to find a tribe. Do a DISC or personality assessment and figure out the areas of weakness that we have. You're wondering who you need to align yourself with. You become more self-aware. It becomes clearer who you're not. And sometimes as a faith community, we're over-spiritualizing things for which there are practical solutions.
Hey.
Yes.
Come on.
That's good.
Speak it. Man, Raph, as you were just speaking, a question came through, and I'm going to point it back to Clinton because he was talking about coaches and mentors. And the person asks, well, how do I go about finding? You talked about coaches and mentors in different contexts for yourself, but how do I go about finding that coach or mentor for myself?
Well, that's a really good question. That's a very common question. I'm gonna go to Star Wars. When the student is ready, the teacher will appear. And we have to, one, be ready for that journey. and understand that there may be some sacrifices or financial contribution that's needed. So some mentorship are free. For the most part, typically mentorship is free and coaching requires some type of payment. Now, for half of us who's listening, we may have been shut down because I don't need to pay for anything like that. And that's a shift of mindset we have to change. If you have to look at it as an investment in yourself, you have to be able to take that step. And also how to look at details. One, you can ask people. That's one way. Ask people, understand what area of focus are you looking for. Are you looking for a spiritual focus? Are you looking for personal development? Are you looking for your business development? And even for business development, are you looking for team building? Are you looking for sales? So you have to figure out what is the area of focus that you need that guidance. And then there's one way to look at it. You can look at I use Google for everything. You can look at some of the books that you may be reading. Some of those authors may be coaches. So look at who that community that they're involved in. So you have to talk to people. You have to do some research. You have to identify the area of which you need the help in. And then for the mentorship portion, find somebody who's doing something that you want to do. It goes through that networking, right? If you are at networking events, find someone who is doing what you want to do. For example, if you want to be in real estate, find a real estate agent. They can serve as a mentor. If you are in the spiritual realm and you want to be a pastor, reach out to your current pastor. So there's different ways to do it, but you have to visualize where you want to go and reach out to those individuals. Don't be afraid to reach out. Don't be afraid, but also understand if they don't respond in kind, don't stop. You have to keep looking, keep searching. I decided that I needed help in my leadership development and my business element. So I went to John Maxwell. I did my research. I wanted to be a coach because I noticed that I had something inside of me that people connected with me. People trusted my voice. I loved people. I love training. So I researched from certificates. I reached out from degrees. I reached out to other different communities. And John Maxwell was the home for me. But it started with research. It started by actualizing what you were trying to visualize and who you want to be with. And that is a good starting point, the coaches and the mentorship.
That's really good. That's really good. And I love what you talked about investing because, we have to invest in ourselves. If you really do want to grow, you have to make that investment. Guys, I'm also a part of the John Maxwell team as well with my brother Clinton. And the fact is that took an investment. My wife and I, we went through that process. And even though we could have stayed in the comfort zone of the fact that we were already teaching leadership, we had already wrote our leadership manuals, what else can be added? No, something else can always be added. You always have capacity towards growth. Yeah. If you're going to be living again, especially those that are called in Christ as believers, with God for eternity, trust me, he has an eternal plan for your eternal growth. All right. So we're always going to be growing. And so I want to encourage you, invest in yourself. One thing the word stands out and says, where your treasure is, your heart will be also. And I remember even from a young age, one of the things I would take my little pennies that I got together and do is I'd go and, just get, the best Bible I could, or study Bibles. At one point I was, even though studying engineering, I was starting to pursue my studies in theology. And even before going to Bible school, I just wanted to, get Bibles, get teachings. I remember some T.D. Jakes series and, Men of Valor and, different series that he would have done. But, it costed money. And the thing is, you have to make those investments. You have to step out. Yeah, because where your treasure is, your heart will be also. We kind of get that turned around sometimes of where our heart is, our treasure will be. But no, where your treasure is, it reflects where your heart is. So invest in yourself. And this is a good point to say, hey, support the ministry as well. And we're going to give the speakers an opportunity to share about their own ministries as we come to a close. But the thing is, we have hosted this entire conference for you guys because we wanted it to be accessible to all. We understand the times that we're in, and we want it to be accessible so that everyone can participate. But we are still blessing each and every one of these speakers because we respect and we honor their value. So even as you give, it will be a blessing that will go to them. I'm going to put that right in there in that topic of investment. But guys, we're here. Our time, unfortunately, is absorbed. But I just want to just put this one last thing on the table for us. And that is, we're speaking primarily in our conversation was geared towards millennials, post-millennials. And, we are right there because we are a part of that group. We are part of that company. And, I want you to, consider what would be the greatest challenge in your estimation that our generation faces right now and the generation after, post-millennials. And again, what would you say to them to encourage them in the midst of the tensions, in the midst of culture, in the midst of all of the things that are surrounding them right now, that they can rise up and be what God has called them to be? And
Yeah.
I'm going to go ahead and, Raphael, I'm going to start with you if you don't mind. And again, then we can follow on with Clinton and then Jacqueline finally.
Yeah, I'll be quick. I'll be quick, Dwayne. Thanks so much, first of all, to you, the Awake the Flame team, to Tao for pulling this entire conference together. It's been an amazing 3 days. And as we're sort of in the departure lounge now, I want to remind all of the millennials who are tuned in, even post-millennials, there are two absolutely critical virtues that are going to be key determining factors for your long-term success, regardless of the nature of the endeavor. The first one is very counterculture, and Jackie spoke about it earlier. Because we're so microwaving this time, the first one is patience. If you can't deploy massive patience, there's a principle that I sort of use in my life: macro patience, micro speed. What I mean is, if I am at a point now where I know the next few steps are within my control, there are things that I'm already clear on that I need to do, then I'm trying to do those things with as much alacrity as I can, micro speed. But I'm deploying macro patience. I don't get confused by the fact that because I'm doing a lot right now, it shortens the overall journey that I'm on. I'm still mindful that this is a long-term journey I'm on. People in our generation are often hustling for a 5-year fix. I want a 5-year mega church, a 5-year mega ministry, a 5-year MBA, massive bank account, right? When for me, and I've said this to friends recently, I'm not really that interested in the 5-year plan. I'm on a 70-year plan. Or really, however long God allows me to be this side of the earth, that's the length of my run right now. And I'm willing to deploy macro patience, work very hard at each stage intermittently, but deploy macro patience, realizing that the journey is going to be a very long one. And the second one I'll say, the last one I'll say is, don't forget your character as you climb. It's really great to progress, but it's quite awful to climb so high that all of your inadequacies are exposed and unaddressed. Your character will carry you further than your skill, than your talent, than your cool ideas. Nothing sustains success more than character does. So don't forget to build yourself and allow God to build you as you're building your dream.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome.
So good.
Thank you, Raphael. Clinton, you can go right ahead.
As long as you still have breath in your lungs, God is not over with you. He's not done. Trials will come. Disappointments will come. But you got to remember the God who has given you purpose. You were created to win. Failure doesn't define you. Regardless, I know we're speaking to millennials, but regardless of your age, if you have breath in your lungs, you still have an opportunity for God to use you. To piggyback on the character, at the end of the day, You have to be able to look yourself in the mirror and say, I'm proud of the person who I am and who I'm becoming. We have to be beacons of light to this darkness. We have to bring on the character, clothe ourselves with the character of Jesus Christ. It makes no benefit to the kingdom if you're the richest man, but you're the poorest in spirit and moral value. So tonight, I want to encourage you. God is not done, so be excited. Regardless of how many times you had a false start, take the first step, have faith, believe in the word that was spoken over your life. You allow the fruit of the Spirit to guide you. We all know, we learned them in Sunday school. You got to have the patience, you got to have the love, you got to have the joy. And one of the fruit that we don't like to talk about, we have to have self-control. Because self-control will help us on this journey. It will keep us in line with what God has called us to do. And all of that sums up with love. So love people, love those around you, love yourself, and ultimately love God. Because if you love God, the loving of God will overflow to how we love each other. The vertical relationship will impact the horizontal relationship.
Yes. Yeah.
So good. So good. Amen. Thank you. Thank you, Brother Clinton. Jacqueline, if you can just go ahead and just share your heart.
Sure, guys, that was so incredible. I was shouting you down over here. But honestly, what I really just want to finish up with, and just as you guys were talking, what I just kept hearing in my heart is that, there are so many panels probably that we've all listened to. There's so many podcasts that we listen to. There's so much information that is actually out there for us to absorb. And tonight I've learned so much from other incredible leaders that are on here. And it's in this moment that you have the choice to listen to the information and either do nothing with it or do something with it. So what would be the most impactful thing in this moment is for you to decide what is that nugget that you actually took away from this and to actually do that thing. One of the epidemics that we have in millennials right now, and some of the things that comes to mind when we say, what are challenges that we have? It's that we see a lot of people doing it, but there are really few people that are actually doing it. And it's hard to know what that actually is because we constantly see all of these things that look like success. It looks like things are going well, but it is really easy to look like things are going well, but it really not be going well. And so in a world where it seems like everything's already done, there's nothing really to do, there's nothing new under the sun, you need to realize tonight that you have the capability to be a leader. And there are people that need really incredible leaders. Like Raphael was saying, they need a leader that has character, that's not going to flake on them, that is going to follow through with their word, that is actually going to be in those meetings with their team that they dearly love, and they're going to go, this is so incredible. Let's move forward. To be the people that are casting vision, to actually do the work, to think ahead, to have vision ahead of them and say, let's do this. I'm actually going to take more work than anybody else. We always tell people on our team, we're never going to ask you to do anything that we aren't doing already ourselves. Be someone that is worth following and be consistent. The conversations that actual true leaders have the most often that will make them bang their head against the wall is that they keep having the same conversation over and over again with the same people. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this sometime. I'm going to do this someday. Someday never actually happens. Someday is not a real day. Today is the day for you to actually be that leader, to be consistent, to not just say you're going to do things, but actually do them. Put a timeline on them. In a sea where there are so many ships in that sea, choose to be a captain. and choose to not be a captain that is going to have all eyes on themselves, but actually be a captain that says, I'm going to actually surround myself with a crew to serve them so that we can serve other people to the best of our ability. That is what this actually allows us to do. And if we can get a hold of ourselves and realize that we actually have the greatest leadership potential, and when we don't tap into that, that people are suffering because of it. The greatest lie that we can tell ourselves is nobody needs me. What I'm doing doesn't matter. What the passions that I have, someone else will do them. There's a reality that there's actually passions that are so specific and intertwined to you specifically that someone else cannot do them better. And the moment that you actually realize those things and continue to improve upon them, man, that's powerful. And you're actually going to have the ability to be able to touch other people's lives and have at the end of your life, which is what everyone really truly wants, every leader actually wants, is that they're going to be able to turn around and go, look at all the people that I loved. Look at all the people that I was able to come alongside. It's not the people that know my name. It's not the people that know what I did. No, it's actually the people that I got to set up to win, that they did things that were far beyond what I could ever think or imagine, to go, wow, I was actually able to just provide that platform for them, and they did the rest of the work. So at the end of the day, I just believe that it's consistency. It's actually doing what you say you're going to do, and being okay with being the person that's creating platforms for someone else.
Oh,
Come on. So, so good. So, so good. And
yes.
let me tell you guys, I am just so blessed and privileged. Both my wife and I, she's right here in the room with me. She's actually doing the entire production. She's just a boss lady, a man. So, I'm
Oh,
just so
for the
thankful for
win.
her and all she
Ciao,
brings
ciao.
to the table. But she's just here with me, just rocking, because we are just so blessed to have you guys in our corner. I mean, it's such a blessing to know you and the value that all of you bring. And tonight, I mean, this was explosive. God truly is the Lord that carries things from glory to glory to glory. And I don't think the night
Yes.
could have ended any better. It just went beyond my own expectation. He does exceedingly abundantly and above. And this has gone just so far beyond. I mean, this is something that folk locked behind a 1,500 paid class just to get in and to hear. And so to have these treasures, just gifted to people out there. I'm going to say, guys, if you're out there listening, run with it. Yeah, don't just be hearers, but as Jacqueline rightly said, be doers. Be doers. Put it into
Yes.
action. That would be the greatest blessing for us tonight, to know that you took this up. It was not just something that was sensational, but rather transformative. And again, carried you from your point that you're at now to where God would have you to be. So I'm so thankful to all of you guys. Thank you for saying yes. Thank you for coming out on behalf of our leadership here at Awake the Flame Ministries and all of our family that serve with us, in respect to the ministry. We just say thank you, a huge thank you. You guys were amazing. And, Jacqueline, you and your husband, Chancellor, you do such an incredible job. We were a part of a brotherhood night just a few Saturdays ago, and it was so massive. It was so amazing.
So
We had people
fun.
come to the Lord. We had such a phenomenal
Yes.
time. And I mean, you're administrative boss. I told you that already. I mean, just how, you brought things together. But you and Chancellor, you guys are doing an incredible work here in South Florida. It's just a privilege to be able to, come under your shadow and learn, as well as we as well start out our own work too, and work together and build together. And,
Yes.
I want to give you the privilege just to share about Collab and what you guys have coming up. And I want you to invite South Florida to what you guys are doing. So go right ahead. And then Clinton, I'm going to jump over to you next. But Jacqueline, go right ahead. Tell us what's happening at Collab and how folk can come and get involved.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And honestly, it's just an incredible honor to be able to serve this city alongside Pastor Dwayne, Pastor Tao, and Pastor Clinton. Man, it is truly just an honor to serve in this city with you and just love on people for Jesus. But yes, my husband and I, we are the founders of Collab Church, and we exist to love, lead, and launch people into the future that God has for them. And you've probably seen my passions come out tonight, but it's really just who we are. We love to love people. We are passionate about leading people, but we're also really passionate about not just loving them, not just leading them, but we want them to go. We want them to be launched. We want our ceiling to be their floor for them to keep moving forward. And so we are actually in a pre-launch season. Technically, as a church, we have not launched yet, but God has just started doing incredible things through Collab, like partnering with Awake the Flame and Evangel Church International, which is also where we gather. And we'll officially be launching in January, but God just keeps providing over and over again, and he is going before us. He is creating a unique community of people that are just so hungry to see what God will do in their lives. People that were once visionless are catching vision. People that were once hopeless are now hope-filled. And that can only come from the Lord. The Bible says that God builds his church. And so we are doing all the work that we possibly can, just praying like it depends on him, and we're seeing God do incredible things. We are serving the community before we're actually even really technically in the community, and we're just so on fire about that. And so we love that we get to partner with people, that there are actually people that are funding this church right now for us to be able to serve this city. Like, we were able to give away 400 meals the other week. We're going to be able to serve people for Thanksgiving. And the reason that we do those things before we've even launched is because we're here to love people. That's why we exist. And so we're okay with being unconventional and truly just being a church in the wild. That is who we are. So we get outside our normal regular walls. When you come to Collab, it's going to be a party. And so we believe that there's nothing boring about church. And so we're just so excited to be here in South Florida, and honestly to know just Pastor Dwayne, Pastor Tao, and be a part of really just loving this city together. God's doing incredible things here.
Yeah. Praise God. Come on. We are so blessed to know you guys as well. And you want to check them out. You want to head over to their Instagram, just go search Collab Church and get connected to what's happening there. And we also have my brother, Clinton, Powell, part of Evangel Church International, one of the pastors there. And, the first person I really met from Evangel was Clinton. I was invited out to a lunch by Pastor David and a good friend of mine who was in the town at that time, Luke Holter. A lot of you guys know Luke. Luke, we've been running together for a while. But when we were going to meet, Clinton was the first one that found me. We butted into each other. And, I didn't even know he was a pastor then, but we just butted into each other. And it was just a sync from then. And, it's just such a pleasure and an honor to know you and what you're doing. As I mentioned earlier, Clinton is a best-selling author, and you want to get this book, Who's in Your Backyard? I want you guys to go grab it. Again, order it. This is my copy. Look, it's my copy. It has my name on it. He signed it for me. So I'm blessed over here, right? And it wasn't given. I invested in myself. I said, no, you're not going to give me that. I'm going to invest in myself, right? And so I want you to encourage you to go grab it. But, Clinton is such an awesome man of God. He also functions as a coach and a mentor, and you can connect with him as a resource. Somebody asked the question about receiving a mentor and a coach. Clinton is the guy. And so, Clinton, you also have a conference coming up in January that, we're going to be a part of. We're so excited for it. Again, One Voice Leadership Summit. Can you just go ahead and just share about it? Tell folk what's going on with yourself and how they can get connected.
Absolutely. First, definitely giving an honor to my ATF family, Awake the Fame family. So thank you so much for the opportunity to share, to be a part of this great panel. Pastor Dwayne, Pastor Tao, it's just an honor. Since we met, we automatically connected. So I'm grateful for that. So to speak to what's going on, how can you stay connected, you can follow me on all social media platforms, Clinton K. Powell. That's IG, Facebook, and Twitter, Clinton K. Powell. And that's also my website address, Clinton K. Powell. You can find resources there of different opportunities of how we could connect, different coaching opportunities, different training and speaking opportunities. So I would love to be able to connect with you and share what God is doing in my ministry and how I can serve you as your coach, trainer, or speaker. In addition to that, I've launched my podcast, Ignite, Empower, and Transform with Clinton K. Powell. We want to ignite purpose, empower vision, and transform your life. So we having great conversation with different individuals who are helping us along that journey. So definitely subscribe. Wherever you get your podcast is Ignite, Empower, and Transform. That information is also on my website. So January. So we talked about activation. This is the practical side of me now. We had some great conversation. Jacqueline mentioned that. Now it's time to actually take a step. We just don't want to hear all these great things and do nothing with it. We want to go on a journey with you. So One Voice Leadership Summit is for you. It's January 20th to the 22nd. Put it in the chat right now. One Voice Leadership Summit. January 20th through the 22nd is onevoicesummit.com, onevoicesummit.com. This is an empowering summit. It's uniting the voices of personal growth, faith, and the marketplace. Again, uniting the voices of personal growth, faith, and the marketplace. We as a church, sometimes we don't understand that you just can't pray about it, but you actually have to put some faith, some works behind it. So we are gathering together in Miami, January 22nd to the 22nd. If you cannot be there in person, there's a virtual option for you. It's onevoicesummit.com. And right now, I am saying we want no excuses. We're eliminating all excuses. The summit is absolutely free for general admission right now, but you got to register now. We have limited free tickets available because we want to empower you. And it's over 20 speakers. I want you to listen in. Over 20 speakers, 4 general sessions, 3 master classes, 6 breakout and workshop sessions, and 8 on-demand sessions. We want to provide content. Why is One Voice Summit? Because we're gonna ignite your purpose, empower your vision, transform your life, but we're going to give you practical tips. We don't want to just empower you with information, but at the beginning of the summit, we're going to give you some paperwork we want you to fill out. What are you looking for? What are you expecting? At the end of the summit, you will have an opportunity to sit with a coach for 10 minutes to help you process what you received in the summit. That is priceless. So we want you to be a part of it. It's onevoicesummit.com. General admission, which will give you access to the day's event. It is free for a limited time, so make sure you register right now. Then we have our VIP experience, which it comes with preferred seating, different access to the on-demand teachings, because we have 8 on-demand teachings that will also be available to you. And then we have our all-access concept, our all-access ticket, where you have everything to on-demand, and we're having the Power to Win. We're hosting 2 Power to Win network lunches where you will network with some of the speakers and industry professionals, and we have a wide range of topics to talk about. How to create content, how to monetize content, what do you do when you feel like quitting, promotions, marketing, branding. We have executive director who will be speaking. We have Grant Cardone, one of his students, that will be doing our real estate breakout. We have so much in store for you, so don't miss the opportunity. Again, invest. Onevoicesummit.com. Get your free tickets, and then you have the VIP and the all access tickets available to you as well. Virtual experiences available.
Come on now. And the thing is, we're going to be doing some teaching in that VIP ticket bracket. You're going to be hearing some other speakers as well. And so I'm going to be jumping in there along with, I believe, Chancellor.
Pastor Dwayne is there.
Yeah.
Pastor Chancellor is Jacqueline's husband, will be doing some of the on-demand. It is action-packed. We have combined ministry and the marketplace. So I'm excited for it.
Come on, we are excited. We are super excited. And so again, that's Clinton, guys. Get connected. So much is happening, and I'm just so thankful for what God is doing. And there's so much opportunity in the kingdom. My goodness, did you hear all of that has happened so far? And you haven't even heard Raphael yet. So Raphael has been such a great friend of mine over the years, and we've shared so many experiences together. Raphael, it's always somebody I can turn to. I remember one time, just a few months ago, if not earlier this year, when we were working with leaders and developing leaders. He was one of those that I definitely had on the team to help develop those who were working out their vision. And he has his own consulting firm as, again, Vanguard Consulting. And Raphael is an amazing speaker. I would probably say the best in the Caribbean region, again, bar none. And
Thanks,
probably yes, Raphael, I'm saying that. Well, I'm not there anymore, so hey. No, even if I was there, you'll still be the best. But no, Raphael is amazing. And, God is just using him in incredible ways. But he's not just a great speaker, he's a great strategist. So incredibly wise. And as I said, corporations have worked with him, to climb up their own personal ladder. He's spoken on stages with and shared platforms with Steve Harvey and other, major speakers and motivational guys as well. But we're so thankful for him. He's rooted and grounded in Christ, and he's doing so much. And I am just excited for what God, again, has for his future. I mean, so much is happening already, but, I'm always there looking forward. I'm always telling him, boy, I'm just blown away because I could see a lot further down the road, and I'm saying it looks really good. So you guys need to get connected with Raphael, but I want him to share about Vanguard Consulting and just go into a bit more of what's happening with you and how people can get connected to you, Raph. Go right ahead.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks so much, Dwayne. So my company, Vanguard Consulting, right now offers consulting services across the Caribbean, and we're very much open for business to working outside of the Caribbean as well. Our focus areas are leadership training and development. We do strategic planning as well, customer service, customer excellence training, sales training, and then an area of specialty and focus for us is change management. And it's something that has become, a hot topic. It's been an area of significant attention, especially over the last 18 months. It's interesting. In many ways, there was an expectation that business would take a dive during the pandemic, but with a highlight or a spotlight on the significance of how well teams are navigating change and how ready the team is to successfully navigate change and still, hit key performance targets and still produce at a very high level, then change management has become one of the central pillars of organizations that have been able to achieve and maintain success even in the context of a pandemic. So we offer those services. We're also very, very, very excited and passionate about coming alongside companies, seeing where they are right now and doing a diagnostic, determining what areas need to be improved or need to be addressed. One of the things that I'm very passionate about, one of the focus areas for us as a consulting company is on the people side. The system side is often very, 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 is always very important rather, but the people side is often overlooked. And we are very focused on the elements of business success that are connected with people strategy. That's why you'll hear the leadership development, you'll hear the sales development and so on, because as we're working with individuals, it helps us to really catalyze significant growth and success in organizations. So that's a bit about what we do. Like I said, we're working with a number of very large multilateral conglomerates, small businesses as well. So we're wide open. And then personally, I'm just getting the opportunity to share, I want to say share stages, but over the last 12 to 18 months, has been sharing a lot of screens. Stages are coming back now over the last few months, but just with audiences across the region, really encouraging persons to be their best, to pursue their goals, to allow that purpose just to be manifested and demonstrated, that it can impact the areas that God is most interested in, whether that be their family spaces, their ministries, their businesses, whatever those areas are, making sure that we're building from a strong platform that we can build great success as we go forward. So I'd love to connect with you, love to hear from you. You can check me out at Success with Raphael. You'll find me there, Instagram, Facebook. Since I do a lot of work with companies, you'll tend to see me a lot on LinkedIn as well, one of my favorite platforms. So feel free to connect there as well.
Yeah, definitely. I love all the content that goes out on LinkedIn, especially. But, as I said earlier, those who get connected with the Rise Up Leadership Conference, content comes out of you. And so I remember our first speakers, Imran and Dario Richards, they just brought out their book, rather. It's a journal called Taking Aim, and it helps you, again, get your processes in order so that you can maximize your potential. So I want to recommend this journal as well, because they were our first speakers. They came up here and served so willingly. They actually stayed right here by my house, and we just had a fun time together as we equipped the church. But they're doing great things. So Clinton, Jacqueline, Raphael, I know Clinton, you wrote already, but I'm waiting on the books. Next time we have the conference next year, I'm going to be expectant that another book is going to be on the table. All right, guys? Well,
yes, sir.
It's just been our pleasure just to have you both, my wife and I, and again, our Awake the Flame family. And it's just been such a blessing the entire weekend, but especially this session dedicated to millennials and post-millennials. One of my first opportunities to work with a young man, his name was Barrio Dimitri Brathwaite, very close to my heart. He was what I considered my first son. He's now gone on to be with the Lord, but we imparted and really poured a lot into him, and he was such a blessing to us, and he just had a heart for the youth all over the world. He had connections where God had opened doors to France and all over the nations for him. But God knows best, took him home to be with the Lord, to be with himself. But I'm dedicating this session tonight, and I just wanted to state it publicly. It was something that's in my heart, but to him, because without him, my journey in starting and pouring into the lives of others probably would not have commenced. He ignited a fire by his own response to say, hey, I want to grow and I want to learn. And he just came and connected so closely. Yeah. And yeah, he's one of the first young people that spent money on. I bought him an iPad and we got going. But that opened my heart to the hundreds of other folk that I have had the opportunity, both my wife and myself, to serve. So this event in itself is dedicated to Barrio Dimitri, and we do it in his honor as we continue to equip hearts all over the world, to serve Jesus and to rise up fully as kingdom champions in their context. So guys, once again, thank you so much for being here with us, and for all of our viewers. We are so thankful for you. You have supported us from Thursday right up to this very moment. And I want to say God bless you, and may he continue to refresh you. And again, take everything that you've heard and put it into action. That's our heart. Regurgitate upon it as well. That means going over to the archive, going over to YouTube, going over to Facebook. We're working on processing the series so that we can bring it over to Instagram as well, because we know who hangs out over there. And so we want to get it all over the place, but not just snippets, but the content. But I'm saying, go dive into the archive. You need to listen to things over, meditate. And that's what, again, establishes culture. And I love what Sam Chan says, culture triumphs over vision any day, because you can have vision, but unless you have strong culture, that vision is not going to run. And so again, in order to get it inside and to build that culture in you before it comes out of you, you got to go over it. So go over all of the wealth that God has poured out over the last 3 days, guys. And again, put it into action. That will be the greatest blessing for us. Continue to pray for all of us, all of the leaders here, including ourselves here at the Awake the Flame Ministries. Continue to pray. Amen. That is one of the greatest currencies that you can invest in us. So we appreciate all your prayer. Tomorrow we have our Family and Friends Sunday, and we are having a conversation just like this, and we're inviting you guys to come out. We meet at 11:30 until about 1:30 there at Evangel Church International. So thankful for the Betzers, Pastors David and Janice. But, we meet there in the house. ECI, Evangel meets at 9. We come in then at 11:30. And Collab is later in the evening around 6. And so, we have all these options for you. But we're there at 11:30, Family and Friends Sunday. We're going to be having fun. And again, we're going to be having a discussion. We're going to have Pastor James Paul with us as well. He's coming, joining the panel, and we're just going to be discussing purpose and, the journey. So we encourage you to join us tomorrow. We're going to have the coaches on the stage. It's going to be relaxed. So bring your coffee, show up, yeah? And if you're in Miami, show up in person, join us. So guys, God bless you again. Thank you from the depths of our heart, from my wife and I. And again, it's like, keep repeating, all of our Wait the Flame family, we're so grateful for your support. God bless you. Have a great evening.